Right. So that covered mindset and process in the reverse order. Now we're going to get into just to position how we go through this and maybe where you are in your journey. You know, we've pulled on a generic third-party skills acquisition model, and there's more. You'll probably, if you do some searching, you'll find 2 or 3, maybe even more skills acquisition models, which have various stages that human beings go through to acquire a skill. So these are the four
levels. So again, and I really like this slide because it's got the line in the middle, so we can differentiate between what's above the line and what's below the line. So effectively, it's basically a ladder, and we're looking to climb from the bottom to the top. So the bottom level, unconsciously unskilled. So that basically means we don't know that we need a skill in order to be able to do something. Okay, and that can be quite dangerous. It's a little bit like, thinking you know how to drive a car, but you don't even have your license. So we don't know that we don't have this mental skill or that we even need to learn it. So level number 2, we know that we don't have this mental skill. Now, often to get from level 1 to level 2, there's got to be some sort of stimulus. And for most of us, that stimulus, generally when it revolves around the market, is some level of pain. So that's the thing that prods us in the side and makes us realize, golly, there's something here that I'm not too sure, that there's something missing, obviously missing, and often this is the moment of realization.
But you become aware.
Absolutely, yeah. So level 3 is consciously skilled. So we move from that consciously unskilled, I know that there's something missing and I don't have this skill, and we therefore are able to do something. It's an active process, and therefore we can learn the skills, and that we then know that we have this mental skill. We're actually thinking about it consciously.
Correct. And aware of it and in the moment, and know why we're doing something, what we're doing and how we're doing it.
And then ultimately we get to a level, sometimes it's called mastery, unconsciously skilled, where we don't even have to think about that particular skill. It's innate. It just becomes part of us as individuals.
Yeah, and so when Mark Douglas spoke about needing to go through a mechanical stage, he wasn't inventing something new, right? It's when you think about riding a bike, driving a motor car, you have to consciously think where all your hands and parts and everything are going. Even brushing your teeth wasn't something that, can you remember as a kid, and I've used this example many times, your parents say, you got to brush your teeth, you got to brush your teeth. It hadn't become a habit and a skill that had just become ingrained, innate in who you were.
Yeah.
So let's try and now align this with the market, with an active investor.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to put a number of bullet points up here, and we're not going to spend too much time elaborating. Otherwise, we could be for the rest of the day. But you'll get it. You'll get it.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of these things you're thinking of as we bring them up, just think about whether they relate to you and whether you've felt like this before. So blissfully ignorant, blame others for loss, but the wins, they're you.
You take all the credit for that. I'm good,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
but when you lose, it's somebody else's or something else's fault.
Rely on noise, that is, information from brokers, media, chat forums, hot tips, newsletters,
Outside. Everything's outside.
Yeah. But no process or plan, and outcome focus. So if the outcome's good, yeah, I'm great. If the outcome's not so good, well, I'm still good, but that was an aberration. That wasn't me.
Yeah, and have a think about that. That means that, think about going to the football. You're a spectator at the football. But when you go and watch your team play, when you leave, how you feel is totally dependent on things you have no control over, right? And I could have had that on Sunday morning when the Springboks won the World Cup, right? The rest of my day and probably week, and maybe even longer, was dependent on something I had no control over. And that's when we become, really emotionally invested in something that we have no control over. And that is when we're outcome focused. So we want to take this to, how are you possibly going to be at peace with all outcomes if you're outcome focused? We got to move away from being outcome focused to another way of operating.
Yeah. Now, this is the key one. Random dabblers, knee-jerk, react, and suffer short-termism. So a focus on, again, really outcomes focus, isn't it? Thinking about that. Random. Think about that. Have you ever been random? And random as opposed to systemized. Yeah. Big difference.
And you knee-jerk reacting to outside influences all the time. Why? Because you are taking on their process. You take on their process because you don't have a process, right? And so you use their process, and you're not process orientated on your process, but you then, the outcome, you focus on the outcome you get from the process that they gave you. And how are you possibly going to be successful in that environment? And then you react to short-term stuff. Why? Because you don't have a bigger picture perspective. And this is what I call these, and I've got friends who are like this, and they justify why they are random dabblers. And that's just making an excuse, for not winning and not making money over the long term. So then we move to, and sorry, a point here is 70 to 90% of level 1 quitters, losers in their first year. Now, that's not a guess. That comes from, and we don't have access to it here, but I've been doing some research recently, and in Europe, in the UK and Europe, brokers, particularly leveraged brokers who provide instruments that are leveraged, they have to report on a quarterly basis how many of their customers lost money. And it's consistently over many quarters, years now, that 70 to 90% of their customers lose money, and then within 12 months stop altogether. But there are a few that continue. I've been members of associations around here in the world in the past where people, it's like an AA meeting. They fess up to have lost, and not only just lost money, lost all of their money, right? And then started again. And that's why those people that keep going are the ones that make it further up the ladder. And we'll talk about their traits in a moment. So level 2.
Acknowledge that they need new skills. They're open-minded and see others. So other skills that they need to acquire. They've become aware, haven't they?
Yeah, and because they've seen other people with those skills, and they go, yeah, I want to be like them. And this is probably where where envy is a good thing. Where envious of somebody who's got the skills, you want to become like them, and put that into a positive sense. These are people, that friends or colleagues or books you've read, or and they should become mentors of yours to help you, and coaches. And that's what Mark Douglas was to me initially through a book. But we'll talk a bit about other ways he was too.
So TA, technical analysis wilderness. No process or plan, erratic with no rules. A lot of people can spend a lot of time and a lot of money in that wilderness.
And you get sucked into, you think you're going to solve this problem through more analysis and becoming a better fundamental analyst or a better technical analyst. And so you try and analyze away, the losing and the emotional pain. And it's going to become clear to you that that's not possible at all, because there are just so many variables that you don't have control over. And you can't try, as I said, a carpenter sees everything in terms of a hammer and nails, and a software programmer sees everything and it's solving every problem in terms of writing a new program, right? Doesn't happen in the market like that. You can't solve the problem with more analysis.
That's a conundrum, isn't it? So mistakes, unconfident, discomfort with the risks and the outcomes. So again, thinking about where we are on this want and what we need to do to improve.
And these are all mental states, right? And we want to take minimize mistakes and reframe what a mistake is. We would want to take the UN from in front of unconfident and the dis in front of comfort. We want to take all those away and remove them so we feel better through this journey.
Yeah. So wrong habits are beliefs that are incongruent with terrain and they're anxious. So what do you mean the beliefs are incongruent with terrain?
Well, if you're going to go on a walk, say, and you're going to go and take on Mount Everest base camp, and you don't do any training, and you go along thinking this is going to be a gentle path, that walking along Beach Road, then your beliefs with what the environment that you're going into is just incongruent. So you're gonna feel physical pain because you haven't done your preparation, you haven't set your expectations. The belief of what you're going to go through is just wrong. It's just dysfunctional with that environment, right? And this is where level 2, when you've got the skills, you're still level 2. It's going to be the same thing. Your beliefs of what to expect and what you're going to go through in the market are just totally dysfunctional with respect to the environment you're going into, and that causes anxiety.
Inconsistent, subjective, hesitant, emotional pain, and losing. So some big ones there, isn't there?
They're all there, and we're not going to unpack them now. They're just making the statement that this is all happening at level 2, below the line. Right, level 3.
So level 3, consciously skilled. And the great thing, mind you, if you are at level 2, is that you're aware, and that because of that, the awareness is there, you can do something about it. So moving on to level 3, rules-based process, it's objective, and you're starting to develop a level of competency.
Correct.
Analysis is sorted, so you've got that down pat. You're process focused, accepting the risk and the outcomes. A big one, accepting the risk and the outcomes.
And at this stage there might not be 100%, and there'll be degrees of being at level 3 as well. When you first cross the line, the degree of acceptance is not going to be the same as when you've been above the line at level 3 for many months or even years. And how long you spend in level 3 is dependent on how much work you do, how intentional you are about this as well. Yeah.
Focused, confident, trust itself and the markets, and your beliefs are aligned, and that's important. I think having the aligning of those beliefs.
Correct, and all of this process bound we probably skipped over. That's a key one. But you have to have a process in the first place to be process bound. Okay, so this is where you start. You don't get rid of all the emotional pain, but you learn how to diffuse it because you're aware of it and you've got skills to be able to capture it in the moment. and not let it force you to make mistakes. You overcome the making mistakes, and you define what is right and wrong at this level, which is a different definition to what's right and wrong is when you're below the line, and you start forming some right habits rather than wrong habits, and you start forming and energizing some functional beliefs with respect to the environment that you're in now. Yeah.
So low discomfort, low conflict, but you still need discipline to be able to execute.
Big key. You still need discipline at this level. So this is when you're on the diet plan, and you first started and you realize I need this diet, or I'm a training regime and going to gym. You need discipline. You still you taken up running, but you need to overcome the bad weather and the whatever and all those beliefs that are dysfunctional with respect to you in that new environment. Those beliefs are going to do your bidding for you, and you're going to have discipline to overcome those dysfunctional beliefs while you're still going through this process. And it's the same on this journey to really become entrenched at level 3 and potentially move to level 4, which is
unconsciously skilled. So again, it becomes part of us. It resonates. We don't even have to think about it. So that's hence the unconsciously. So rules and analysis is automatic. So we've got that under control. The process is innate. It's part of who we are, and we're objective. So we're at peace with all outcomes, and there's no mental discomfort. No mental discomfort in upwards markets, downwards markets, or sideways markets.
All market conditions.
All market conditions.
Hence the objective that we set at the beginning of the session, the little all market conditions added to the end.
So market paradigm beliefs, near zero emotional pain. So not zero emotional pain, near zero emotional pain.
We're all human at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And the degree of emotional pain will dissipate the more you acquire these mental skills, and you take on a market paradigm of beliefs rather than a societal paradigm of beliefs, and all the things that our journey to date in all the different roles we play in life has built a set of beliefs that are dysfunctional with respect to the market. So those are societal paradigm beliefs, whereas now we want to take on market paradigm beliefs, which is thinking in probabilities and starting to energize these skills that are basically consistency and objectivity, and that's how you become peaceful.
So dysfunctional beliefs are de-energized, and we established ingrained habits. So those dysfunctional, a bit hard to say, those beliefs are de-energized. So we take the focus away from those, and we are now more about the habit. We don't even have to think about it. It just becomes natural.
And keyword there, focus, which we'll be talking a bit quite a lot about. And so you become consistent, you become peaceful, and this is key. So what is the main difference between level 3 and level 4 is that the process that you're using becomes effortless. You don't need discipline, to wake up in the cold morning when it's 5 degrees and put on your running shoes and go and run. It just is automatic. It's effortless. There's no, very little discipline or no discipline is required to go and do it. And this is when you've taken on the I am a runner. I am a consistently successful and peaceful active investor in all market conditions. So you now use the first person. When it becomes effortless, it's now part of who you are. And that's where we want to get you to. And we've helped customers, and we want to help a lot more customers get to this level. And this is potentially where, if you've learned how to design a system and you've got the technical and computer skills and the analysis skills to do that, you can design your own system, and you'll no longer need Sharewell Systems as your coach and mentor to take you through to get to this level. You would have arrived.